Hello and welcome to my presentation. I am Anthony C. Goodwin. I'm coming out of the Department of Educational Psychology at George Mason University from the College of Education and Human Development. So real quick, I'm going to brief you on the purpose of this study. The title of this study is Task Value Intervention, a Psychotherapeutic Approach in Secondary Classrooms. So basically, the purpose of this study is to examine the effects that a psychotherapeutic intervention might have on secondary students' perceptions of value. I'm going to keep it at that. It's a little more complex up there, but I don't want to complicate things right now. So perceptions of value and the scale that's being assessed amidst the psychotherapeutic intervention is the KC aspects of education scale. So KC value for aspects of education scale. So now this scale is being validated right now in my psychometrics class. So for the psychometrics instrument project, I began validating the scales for this instrument, and the data is pretty interesting. So it seems that I fell short of completely and distinctly assessing the individual constructs of value. So in the value literature, task value breaks into three subconstructs, which are interest, importance, and utility, meaning that when people express perceptions of value, they are expressing them through these subconstructs. And how that manifests in the data is that those three subconstructs factor load upon that one factor of value strongly, of task value strongly. So in my instrument so far, I'm only getting two factors out of there, which means that my items are not diverse enough for the domains of the subconstructs. So that's what we're working towards right now. But anyways, the psychotherapist, so the psychotherapeutic intervention will be doctored by the psychotherapist who I will talk with about these task value ideas and the Casey aspects. So the Casey aspects quickly are collaboration, advising, self-study, extracurriculars, and instruction. So how value is being assessed through those is students' perceptions of value of collaboration, students' perceptions of value for advising, right? So as assessed by those three subconstructs, interest, importance, utility, for those aspects. So an item in my instrument says something like, I found it important to work with peers, right? So that's the importance subconstruct being assessed within the collaboration scale, right? So it does this for every scale. Now, the intervention here is basically, I'm always hesitant to say things like guided meditation or hypnosis because of, just the connotation that's associated. I'm not too keen about it. That's why I prefer psychotherapy, because it has clinical proven research effects. See, so yes, there's stuff for meditation and things like that, and hypnosis, but in regards to credibility, also with regards to education linkage, there's actual literature, supporting literature that links these psychotherapeutic concepts and elements to education through self-regulation, which is actually for our class, right? So basically in the psychotherapeutic literature, this concept of stages of change is assessed relevant to students' readiness to adopt self-regulative behaviors, right? So stages of change is a psychotherapeutic scale or measure, and then self-regulation, obviously. And so what they found is that individuals that were more metacognitive and reflective were more ready to adopt adaptive behaviors in the form of self-regulation of their study habits, right? So it's fascinating. It works perfect for this study because what this psychotherapeutic intervention attempts to do is linguistically, right, through this idea of a co-constructed narrative is what it's called in the psychotherapeutic literature, through this co-constructed narrative where the psychotherapist guides students through these value constructs and through these Casey aspects. What it hopes to do is influence, using this metacognitive and reflective technique, it helps to influence the value perceptions that students bring into the education context, right? So basically hoping to trigger some of these stages of adapting, um, um, adopting adaptive values for their education context, right? So that's the idea. Now, data analysis, within groups, we'll be running the paired t-test because you've got a pre and post measure going on here. So that'll be the paired. That one group will have its own t-test for significant differences. And then you've got the between groups t-tests happening, making it an experimental design where the control group gets just some psychological content that we decide will distract them while we try to figure out if there's differences happening over here with the psychotherapeutic intervention. Okay, so that's 2 t-tests, but like I'm wanting to assess many different angles and scales for differences, right? Because there's so many, there's 3 subconstructs within value, so you can take that as far as you can dream. So we'll see where that goes. But basically the educational implications for this are that if you can show people that all you have to do is bring these ideas in a systematic way to students, you're already talking about the idea of implementing curriculum, because that's what curriculum is. It is a systematic implementation of ideas which we think are proper for people to adopt, right? So, and understand. So now why can't we turn perception and value thinking into that same exact thing? I'm not sure, but we're going to try and find out if that's possible. So that's the idea of this is if you can get that speaks to the idea of, a whole field dedicated to developing activities within the education context geared towards forming and shaping adaptive value perceptions, so students come to school with interest, knowing that it's important and why, and then utility, how it applies to their futures and their immediate use context. Okay, so that's the study. I hope you guys make it through this with a smiling face, because we all deserve it if we make it to the end and get this turned in on time. And congrats to those of you, for all of us actually, for getting through this, man. It was tough, but we did it. I appreciate you. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation.